Hi, and welcome to Quirky Books with Katie. And today, before I start my April wrap-up, I would like to get a few things out of the way. First of all, hi and welcome to all of my new subscribers. Recently, I received an influx of new subscribers, and that was mostly due in part to the fact that Whitney over at Witty Novels mentioned me in one of her videos. And thank you so much, Whitney. Whitney is amazing. She's one of my favorite people in the entire world, and she's awesome. As always, I will link her channel down below. So, hello new subscribers, hopefully you enjoy my channel. Secondly, I recently made an Amazon wish list, or just got around to updating it, so I will leave that in the down bar below if you want to see all the books that I am currently lusting after. And as always, I will link my social media links down below, like Twitter, Tumblr, so if you want to see all my fangirl musings, you can follow me there. I actually had a really good reading month in April. I ended up reading a total of 12 books, which I think is my highest total of books per month this year. The first book that I read is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. This book is about a girl who's kind of having a rough patch in her life. She's in high school, she's not really social, she's different, and she is out walking one night and she discovers this club, and she meets this guy and all these people, and she figures out that what she really loves to do in life is DJ. And this is about this girl's story and how she has fallen in love with DJing. And I actually really enjoyed this contemporary. When it first came out last year, it had a lot of hype, but I haven't really heard anything about it since then. And I actually really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I felt like the main character was really relatable, and I love the music aspect to this book. I am a big music fan, and I really liked all the cool music that was kind of thrown in there. The next book that I read is The Winner's Curse by Marie Rutkusky. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Can never say that name. And this book has been everywhere lately. It is about this girl named Kestrel, and in a futuristic dystopian society, she is kind of at the top of the pyramid. Her father's one of the most important men in the kingdom, and it doesn't really get along with him that well. All she wants to do is play piano. That's her favorite thing in the world, but he wants her to either get married or go off into the military, and she's like, no. And one day she's at the local auction with her friend, and she decides to buy a slave named Aaron. And that's kind of where the story picks up. It's kind of about Kestrel and her relationship with Aaron, and kind of how, like all dystopian, she kind of becomes disillusioned with her society. Now, everyone loves this book, and I'm sorry to say, but I was not a fan of this book at all. I felt like the main character was so annoying, and she just bothered me to high heaven. And towards the end of the book, the tables kind of turn a little bit. I'm trying not to spoil anything. And I feel like when the major kind of plot twist happens, I just didn't really like how the relationship progressed between two of the characters. Now, I do have one good thing to say about this book, though. I really enjoyed the ending. It was just really emotionally damaging, but I felt like if it was a book that I loved, I would have cried at that ending. It was really good, but unfortunately, I did not. I know everyone loves this book. I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for it, but I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars, and one of those stars was earned just for the fact that I liked the ending of the book. After that, I decided to reread Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I feel like I just need to reread it every once in a while. Love it every single time I read it. I love it more every time. And in case you did not know, this book is about a girl named Anna. She is shipped off to live in boarding school in Paris, and she meets this guy named Etienne St. Clair, and he is just a dreamboat. And this book is not just your typical fluffy contemporary, although it sounds like it has a lot of heart and substance, and so good. I would recommend this to anyone who is venturing into contemporary, or if you love contemporary, just everyone has to read this book. Next, I read A Girl of Fire and Thorns by Rae Carson. This book is about a girl named Eliza, and she is recently married, and she is basically in charge of a kingdom now. And this is a really high fantasy book. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with fantasy. I've been getting more into it lately. Unfortunately, I did not like this book. I read it along the same time as some of my friends. I think Whitney read it, and so did Carrie, and I believe Isabel from Belle K. Will read it too. We all read it kind of around the same time. I was just not a fan. The main character was cool, and she had a lot of relationships with other people. She had like 3 love interests in this book, and I was like, okay, honey, calm down now. There was one of them that I liked. His name was Hector, but he was in there like not at all. And I just felt like this book started well, and then it hit a good climax, and then it just kind of fell apart. I don't know if I'm going to be continuing on with this series, so if anyone really likes this series, then let me know in the comments down below if it gets any better. Next, I read Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This is Colleen Hoover's most recent book, and I adore her. She writes some of the best contemporaries, and this book is told from 2 points of view. It's about a girl named Sydney, and she recently finds out that her best friend and her boyfriend were catting around behind her back, and she gets kicked out. And then she decides to live with her neighbor across the way, whose name is Ridge, and he is a musician. And Sydney kind of helps write lyrics for Ridge, and she becomes his muse. And this is just it was such a beautiful story. Again, it was so much more than I was expecting. And this book just gave me the biggest case of the feels. I know that I'm an emotional person, but oh my god, I just was sobbing by the end of this book. 5 out of 5 stars, and another amazing contemporary by Miss Colleen Hoover. Next, I finally finished A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, and in case you have not heard about this behemoth of a book, it is about this land called the Seven Kingdoms, and it's basically about the politics that go on in the land, and what makes this book so amazing is its characters. You get really attached to them, and there's so many. My favorites currently are Tyrion, Daenerys, Jon Snow, and Arya. And I am just so proud of myself for finally reading this book, and I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. I admit that it is a little hard to get into, but I was watching the TV series at the same time that I was reading this, and I felt like that really helped with kind of understanding the plot and characters, and I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is The Summer I Became a Nerd by Leah Ray Miller, and I just really disliked this book. I gave this book a 1 star. I do not give a lot of 1 stars, but this book, it's about this girl, this popular girl, and oh, for her entire life, she's hid the fact that she's a nerd. She likes comic books, and she thinks people are going to outcast her for that. And then she meets this guy in a comic store, and they go out, and it's just so annoying, and I felt like it just projected a really bad message that, oh, if you're popular but you're secretly a nerd, it'll all work out for you. In the end, I was like, no, she should embrace her inner nerdiness fangirl, and I just, not a fan of this book at all. Trust me, this is one you can skip. Next, I read, which was probably my favorite book of the month, and that is The Demon King by Cinda Williams Shima. And Reagan over at Peruse Project talks about this book all the time. And I didn't know if I'd like it. I picked it up, and oh my god, this is probably the start of my new favorite action series. This book also takes place from 2 points of view. One is Han Alistair, and he's kind of like he was a thief lord kind of in the kingdom, and he recently gave that up, and he's trying to protect his family. And the other main character is Princess Reza, and she is the princess of the kingdom, and she has to get married soon, and she doesn't want to, and this book, so good. I felt like it did take a little while to get started, but once it did, oh my god, it was a roller coaster of fun, action, adventure, and romance. I'm just going to put this in there for you. The two of the characters, they only meet once in the book, yet I ship them so hard. It's a problem, and I'm just so excited to continue on with the series. I love it so much. Next, I read Saving June by Hannah Harrington. This book is about a girl named Harper, and recently her sister June committed suicide, and her sister's last wish is to go to California. So Harper decides to take her sister's ashes, go on a road trip to California, and scatter her sister's ashes in the Pacific Ocean. this was quite the surprise for me. I really enjoyed this book. It had a lot of emotion to it, and I felt like it was really relatable, even though it was about someone committing suicide. And this book also had a music aspect to it. While on the road trip, the love interest is really into music, so he kind of creates playlists. And I thought that was really awesome, and I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars because it was just really emotional and just a really good, heartfelt contemporary. Book that I read was actually an ARC, and that is On the Fence by Casey West. I was provided this ARC from Harper Teen on Edelweiss, and I really liked this book. And this book is about a girl named Charlie, and she has 4 brothers, and throughout her life her family has been her dad, her brothers, and her next door neighbor Brayden. And Charlie starts to develop feelings for Brayden. And Charlie is a bit of a tomboy, and she kind of has to struggle with her femininity. And this book was another good contemporary. It wasn't as heartfelt, it was more on the fluffy side, but it still had just enough emotional appeal to keep it going. And I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I thought it was really good. The only thing that could have been better for me was if it had a little bit more emotional depth. I read another popular book on the BookTube community, and that is The Archive by Victoria Schwab. And this book is about a girl named Mackenzie, and in this world, basically when you die, your history remains, which is basically the history of your life. And they are kind of put into this library, and Mackenzie is what they call a keeper, and she kind of has to go after missing histories. And I thought that the premise of this book was so cool. It was so unique. I haven't read anything like it. My problem though was I wasn't really attached to this book at all. I wasn't a huge fan of the main character. What made this book for me was the love interest Wesley. He's basically this goth guy that wears black nail polish and guy liner, and he's just perfection. I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I do plan on continuing with the series though. And the last book that I read this month is Always Emily by Michaela McColl, and this book is a historical fiction about the lives of Emily and Charlotte Bronte as teenagers. Emily Bronte wrote the classic Wuthering Heights, and Charlotte Bronte wrote Jane Eyre, which is one of my favorite books ever, and I was really disappointed by this book. I did feel like this book did a good job of kind of portraying what Emily and Charlotte's lives would have been if when they were teenagers. I thought that was really good. And their personalities were awesome, and I loved how at the beginning of each chapter there was kind of a quote from one of their books, and I thought that was really cool. But overall this book had like a mystery aspect to it, and I felt like the mystery was like really over dramatized, and it could have been solved really quickly. And overall I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. Was not a huge fan of it, and I'm mad about that because this could have been such an amazing book, and I was just disappointed. And the book I am currently reading is Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy. This book is about a girl named Alice, and she has leukemia, and she kind of has this bucket list of things that she wants to do before she dies, and she does them with her best friend Harvey, except one day she realizes she's in remission, and she kind of has to deal with the fact that she's living again and the fact that she did all these awful things on her bucket list. Now, I'm almost done with this, and it's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. But the important thing about this book is that me and a bunch of my friends are going to be doing a live show for this book May 3rd, which is this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Kassidy Voinche's channel. So if you want to come check it out, then please do come and watch the live show. I'm so excited to discuss this book with all of my friends. Now, I don't have much of a TBR for May because I am not going to be reading at all for the first half of the month. And the reason for that is AP tests. Basically, in high school, there's this thing called AP tests where you take a test and you can kind of get college credit. And I'm taking one of said tests and I'm freaking out for it, so I'm going to be spending all of my time studying rather than reading. And I'm not going to read a lot this month, although my test is midway through the month. So after that, I'll probably read a lot more, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to read after that test yet. So my May TBR is going to be open, but if you guys have any recommendations for me, then please let me know in the comments down below. So if you guys have read any of the books that I talked about, let me know in the comments down below. And also, if there's any books that you want to see reviews on or any video requests or anything like that, then let me know in the comments down below. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you again soon.